Cheese County, and welcome to the Michael Zehr Show. Today's date is May 6th, 2022, and I'm coming to you live from the Rising Eagle Studios here at the Warrior Healing Center. And man, am I excited today. Whenever I get somebody that works at the Warrior Healing Center as one of my guests, I get a little bit over anxious, so I ask that you bear with me if you can. Today's interview is with Dan Shaw. Dan, thank you so much
My
for
pleasure,
coming on
Michael.
and joining
Thank
me.
you
Appreciate it.
Thanks for the invitation.
So I always ask, first question I always like to ask is, what is it that inspired you to join the military? And where were you when you joined?
I was in Burbank, California. I actually joined as a junior in high school. I joined the Marine Corps Reserves, mainly because, like everybody, a lot of young men back then, the Marine Corps had the image of, we'll make a man out of you. I think the French Foreign Legion has the same one too, only I didn't speak French, so that was out. So the Marine Corps Reserves was the next best option. The smart thing I did was I signed on as a junior in high school. And when you do that for the reserves, the clock starts ticking. So
Right.
once you graduate from high school, you end up having a year up already, and you haven't even hit basic training yet.
Wow. Good morning, Keith. Thank you for joining us. And
Hi, Keith.
if you have any questions, by all means, please type them in the comments section. We'll be happy to answer them for you. So you enlisted in Burbank, California, and
Yep.
where was your boot camp?
At wonderful San Diego,
So you
right
went
down the road.
Camp Pendleton then.
Yep. Well, it's
Okay.
actually south of Pendleton. In the city of San Diego itself is called MCRD, which stands for the Marine Corps Recruit Depot.
Oh, really?
It's in Old Town San Diego. Been there forever. It's right next to, those people that are from San Diego know, right next to Lindbergh Field, which is
Okay.
their airport down there.
When Petco Field, when they built down there, we went for a Cubs game. We went to
Yeah.
old San Diego.
Yep.
Beautiful area down there.
Gorgeous.
So who does Dan's hair? That's a great question.
I've got a pal named Glenn Meyer, who's not a veteran, but he's a fellow Californian like me.
Uh-huh.
If you're really interested, I got his phone number. He does mobile haircuts,
Wow.
which means he'll come out to you. He's located here in Sierra Vista, Arizona. Wonderful guy. Does a fantastic job with my hair. Makes me look like a movie star.
Yes.
And I just can't get enough praising Glenn Meyer's magic.
Good job, Glenn. Good job.
Yeah.
So after boot camp, you went to what in the Marine Corps? What do they call it? Because I know in the Army it's advanced individualized training.
Right. And now when you're reservist, though, I actually just came back and went to college. That was the sole reason why I went in the reserves.
Okay.
So back then in the Marine Corps Reserves, first of all, we're talking the late 70s. There's no GI Bill when you join the Marine Corps Reserves. There was no VA home loan. None of those benefits unless you did an entire 30-year career in the Marine Corps Reserves. So you joined a lot out of patriotism more than anything else. But to answer your question, some reservists will go to their, I think it used to be called ITR.
ITR. Okay.
ITR instead of AIT.
Okay.
Their MOS training. And they usually do that right after they graduate Marine Corps basic training.
So what did you go to college when you went back to go to college? What were you doing?
I was, I had the intention ultimately of becoming a Marine Corps officer.
Okay.
Which is why I was in the reserves, because I could get a little extra money for college and still learn about the Marine Corps and all that. Well, I certainly did both of that. The only thing I did discover is that I was a horrible college student because upon graduation from the Marine Corps, like a lot of Marine reservists, you're very motivated to go on active duty. However, after about 4 years of my Marine Corps Reserve unit, I became very disillusioned with the Marine Corps Reserves. We had no money back then. The Vietnam War was only a few years over, so to speak, or terminated just a few years prior. So there was no budget for the military, especially for the Marine Corps. So I spent a great deal of my drill weekends, as they call them, coming to my drill center and cleaning M16A1 rifles all damn weekend. That got real boring real fast. The only thing we did do for our 2-week annual training that was kind of fun as they shipped my whole battalion to Jungle Operations Training Center in Fort Sherman, Panama, where we went through a jungle warfare school.
Oh, wow. For
That
2 weeks, huh?
yeah, and that was thank God I was 19 at the time, because the school was run by Army Rangers,
Uh-huh.
and it was very, very intense training.
Where was the college that you went to? Was it in California?
Yeah, it was Cal State Northridge
Cal
at the
State?
time. Yeah, and then,
Okay.
like I said, after about 4 years, I want to go on active duty. But now I've seen enough of the Marine Corps to know I don't want to go active duty in the Marine Corps, because I would have ended up likely I would have ended up at Camp Lejeune or Camp Pendleton. Camp Pendleton in Oceanside, California wouldn't have been bad, but I'd spent 2 weeks at Camp Geiger, which was a sub camp of Camp Lejeune in North
Okay.
Carolina, in Jacksonville, North Carolina, and what an absolute hellhole that was. That was 2 weeks of that place was 2 weeks of misery, and that convinced me that forget active duty in the Marine Corps.
One thing that I really love about doing this show is that there are things that I forget because it's been so long since I've been in, that I didn't know the Marine Corps had a reserves. I always thought it was like Army reserves. So it's very interesting, and I'm glad that you're sharing your story with us about the Marine Corps reserves too. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So what was your job then? What did you do when you were in the Marines other than cleaning weapons?
Yeah, well, they sent me to a 2 week anti-tank school, and my MOS became 0351, which is basically anti-tank assaultman. It was the official title. I learned how to fire an anti-tank system that mercifully no longer exists, because it wasn't all that great. It was an M48 Dragon anti-tank rocket.
Oh, wow.
This thing was a big old huge tube that weighed about 25 pounds with a detachable sight mechanism on it. It's very similar to what the Marine Corps has now, and we're seeing a lot of success with it currently in Ukraine. Only that they're called the Javelin. The Javelin's much better than what I had.
Right.
Mine was a piece of crap that was overpriced. They had gold conductors in the damn thing, and it would cost back then $5,000 a round. So we didn't do any live firing at all. We just, if we did any training with it, it was strictly with a simulator because of the cost. And so as a Dragon gunner, you carry one tube, the tracking unit, and then your pack and your rifle and all the rest of the crap you got to carry with you in the field. And then your assistant gunner carries another tube, and all of his assorted infantry baggage. And when you run into tanks, you immediately set this thing up, mate the sighting system to the tube, fire it, and the maximum range is like 1,000 meters, and it's wire guided, very much like the tow missile.
Okay.
So it's like one big giant pop gun. You sit there and watch the rocket leave the tube with this big old long wire at the base of it that's guiding it. The only problem with that is once you fire this thing, the blast signature coming out of the ass end of the tube is huge and very noticeable, and will probably in combat certainly decrease your lifespan.
And your hearing.
And your hearing too, exactly. Now that's with the Javelin, that's been improved, and it's much more reliable and probably ensures a longer lifespan of the operator.
I'm just kind of curious because you said so you're carrying the tube, your backpack,
right,
your rifle. What about the ammunition for it?
Well, the Dragon itself is very similar to the Law's rocket from Vietnam. Once you fire the tube, you discard it. The only thing that you retain is the sighting system, and that goes on the next tube.
Okay. See, I didn't know that.
Yes, it was disposable.
Wow.
Thank God. And if I had to fire that thing in combat, I would have really enjoyed the disposing part. Now, the one thing that in hindsight that makes me laugh is at the time the Marine Corps was filling us with a bunch of propaganda about how awful the at the time Soviet T-80 tanks were and the T-72 tanks. They were telling us that these tanks were the most lethal main battle tank in the entire world, and that if we have to go against these tanks, there's going to be a lot of us that are going to get killed in the uh, um, in the attack upon these tanks, et cetera, et cetera. Well, fast forward to the war in Iraq, and I'm watching TV news, and I'm seeing the wreckage of T-72 and T-80 tanks along the side of these major highways, and every single one of them's got a turret blown out of the turret ring. Well, then I go and do my own little research and realize that these allegedly indestructible tanks have a tendency to blow the entire turret off the tractor when they're hit by any kind of anti-tank weapon, not just the one that I was trained in. So lo and behold, I started realizing that, yeah, the Marine Corps did a real good job in brainwashing us with a lot of fear that, of course, ended up not being true.
What was your one of your favorite places that you went to while you were in the Marine Corps Reserves?
Well, we used to go to Pendleton a lot to train because it was close by. And then we also used to go up north to Hunter's Liggett up near Fort Ord, which was a beautiful place up there. Camp Roberts, as people might know that. We went there. That was a National Guard base. Beautiful country up there. Very nice, very comfortable. A lot of nice rolling hills with lush grass to sleep on at night and that kind of thing.
So you had a total of how many years then in the reserve?
I did 4 years in the reserves.
Okay.
And then after that, I was raised on Air Force bases till I was about 12, 13.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, that's how come I know Arizona, because I was a dependent at Davis Mountain Air Force Base in Tucson, and also at Chandler. There was a base there that's
Williams.
Yep, I was at Williams Air Force Base as a dependent. So I said, to hell with myself, or the hell with it with the Marine Corps. I've already proven myself. I was an E4 corporal. Let's go join the Air Force because I want to go to Europe, and they got bases in Europe.
So I didn't know that you were in the Air Force too. So see, I'm learning some stuff
there
then.
You go.
So how long were you in the Air Force for?
I did 4 years active duty.
4 years?
Tour, yeah. And my career field there was in communications. I was a telecommunications operations specialist, and basically what that means is you're kind of like a military version of the Western Union telegram people. You work inside a nice air-conditioned building because this isn't the Army where you're out in the field anymore, or the Marine Corps. So you were doing shift work, basically processing and handling message traffic, operating teletypes, cryptographic equipment, stuff like that.
Did you get to go to Germany?
No, unfortunately, because when I filled out my wish list after graduating the Air Force version of AIT, they call it tech school, I get to go to Okinawa instead for 18 months.
Oh, okay.
So when I got off the plane there and landed on the Rock, as it's affectionately known in the Marine Corps, I am now at the home of the entire 3rd Marine Division.
Oh, wow.
In Okinawa. And I was like, oh, great. I could have stayed in the Marine Corps and ended up here and kept rank. The Air Force wouldn't even give me E2 coming over. I had to start out as an E1. And I go, what the hell is that shit? I was an E4 in the reserves, and you guys won't even give me E2? Nope, we don't do that. But I ended up picking it up meritoriously through promotion boards, that kind of thing. So,
well, they say once a Marine, always a Marine.
Yeah, it helped me out quite a bit, actually, in a lot of things in life. It's always been the barometer or the yardstick that I've used to measure any difficult and exhausting experiences, tasks, conditions in my life. I've always gone back to and always comforted myself by saying, well, at least it isn't as bad as Marine Corps basic training. Because back when I went through basic training, we're talking the summer of 1979, they were very heavy-handed still then. They were beating recruits
hands-on.
Yeah, very hands-on. As a matter of fact, one time when I was in the chow hall, I refused to eat liver and onions because I can't stand liver and onions.
Amen.
My drill instructor told me, go back to your table and finish eating the liver and onions. When I refused, next thing I know, my drill instructor punches me, knocking me unconscious.
Wow.
And I'm lying on the floor of the chow hall looking up at the fluorescent lighting. And fortunately, members of my fire team came running to my aid and are slapping me in the face, reviving me, going, Shaw, wake up. And I go, what happened? And they go, the drill instructor just knocked you out. Well, I had the last lap because I didn't eat the damn liver and onions. I picked myself up and went on with the day's training.
That's an awfully painful way to go with not to eat liver and onions,
Yeah,
though.
I don't
But
recommend it
I would have
to
done the same
anybody.
thing, I think.
Yeah.
So you get out of the Air Force, and what do you do next?
Well, then now I'm a real motivated college student
Okay.
because I've done 4 years active duty, and I come back home, move back in with mom, and become a full time student and finish up. I just went as far as an AA degree, and then I managed to get in contact with some of my old comrades from my Marine Corps Reserve unit. And back then, a lot of them were, I'd say 90% of my Marine Corps unit, and which was H&S Company 223 at Encino, California. Yes, that Encino, California. The one that everybody thinks is kind of like a Hollywood Marines kind of a thing. But a lot of those guys were full-time police officers. So I started chatting with them, and they started taking me on ride-alongs, and so then I ended up developing the desire to become a full-time police officer, and I did that. I signed on with LAPD, did a career with them.
That's what fascinates me because I did not know that you are a law enforcement officer,
Yep.
and I could sit down and probably ask you, and I'm sure you have stories you could share with us. And this interview would probably take all day and into the night, probably.
Yeah, I did.
So
When I was in with LAPD, I was there in April of 1992. As a matter of fact, the 30th anniversary just occurred here as we're speaking of the 1992 Rodney King
Rodney
riots.
King, yeah.
And then I was also on duty in 1994 when the Northridge Earthquake hit. That was like a 6.6, 6.9 earthquake that hit at about 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning,
Wow.
which knocked out all the power to LA, and in some ways was worse than the riots as far as the damage and stuff it did to the city of LA.
Isn't it weird how the thought process with people is that when something like that happens, oh, we got to loot. We got to go in and
Yeah,
steal the stuff.
yeah,
And now's the time to go in and do that. And it's just, you see people trying to steal refrigerators and
oh yeah.
big screen TVs. It's just stupid.
It's a free for all. Now, the good thing that the city of Los Angeles, and in particular the Los Angeles Police Department, discovered is that their greatest asset during the time of the riots and the uh, um, Northridge deployment, earthquake deployment, was that their veteran officers made were very disciplined, more so than the other non-military police officers,
Right.
and that they could work 12 hours on, 12 hours off, excuse me, and not complain about it. My colleagues at the time that weren't in the military were always crying about, oh, I can't get a day off. We're 12 hours on, 12 hours off indefinitely. And I go, yes, shut up and
Suck it up,
suck it
Buttercup.
up. Yeah, suck it up and think about the overtime you're making,
Yeah.
and what you're going to buy with that big check, which comes at the end of the deployment. That
So
kind
how
of
did
thing.
you end up going from LAPD and then into the sheriff's department?
No, I didn't do sheriffs. I was doing. I went to Burbank PD after that
Oh, okay.
and finished out with
I
them.
thought you had told me a few days ago or something like that that you were at the sheriff's
No, not
department.
sheriffs.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just law enforcement. It's the same.
And how long were you in law enforcement for?
Approximately about 13, 14 years. Now, back then, too, you could retire
Uh huh.
by buying your military time, your active duty military time,
Oh, wow.
with a ceiling of 4 years. So I could buy through a monthly payroll deduction, you could buy back a maximum of 4 years of your active duty service, and now that counts as 4 years for your retirement pension.
So
Great benefit.
could you share with our veterans here? Because maybe we have somebody that might be watching, and maybe they're thinking, "Oh, wow, law enforcement sounds like that might be something for me." Could you kind of give them a little bit of an idea how to go about that?
Well, basically, I would tell them right now, don't do it.
Don't do it,
Don't
really?
do it. Right now is a horrible time for police officers. I don't have to really articulate that too much.
Right.
It's not a good time. I believe we're in a cycle right now, and it's not going to last forever. But the way things are now, with everybody having a video camera and everybody in your face
And body cam
and body
footage.
cams, and the problem too is that police officers don't. The other thing too is, in my day, police officers had a lot more freedom to investigate crimes to their ultimately happy end, which means someone gets arrested for a crime, and that kind of a thing. Now these officers have no proactive skills whatsoever because they're taught not to have any proactive skills. Their police departments want no scandals, so they don't want officers out there on a long leash. Instead, they want the officers handling the radio calls that come out over their computers inside their police cars. So for officers now, they don't have the skills to look at someone and make the determination that, yeah, this guy or girl is going to commit a crime.
Kevin trying to be funny here.
Yeah, right, Kevin.
Yeah. Good morning, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
So how did you transition then from being a law enforcement? What did you do then after that?
Pretty much, just kind of retired, semi-retired, was a private investigator for a while over in California with a buddy of mine, too, that was also a retired police officer. And basically, when we started about 10 years ago, when we started seeing the living for retirees in California start sinking to an all-time low, I sold my house for an obscene amount of money and got the hell out of there. And we found Sierra Vista, basically, my wife and I, as tourists on our way to Tombstone.
Wow.
My wife knew I knew about Arizona after living here for approximately 5 years as an Air Force dependent. She said, "What's Sierra Vista?" And I go, "How the hell would I know? I haven't been in any farther south than Tucson." So we came here a couple of times, looked it over, and said, let's relocate here.
What did you like about Sierra Vista?
Basically, it was nice and wide open, quiet. No planes going overhead, no sirens, no urban disturbances of any kind. We enjoy the natural beauty, especially all the stars that you can see at night.
You don't have to sit in traffic for an hour.
Correct. We actually laughed at the traffic because coming from Los Angeles, this is the traffic here. Even in Tucson, when I drive up to Tucson, first thing I do is that I involuntarily fall back into urban driving skills, despite my best intention to the contrary. And then my wife notices it right away, and we have a good chuckle over it.
Yeah, but I read an article yesterday that the motor vehicle is going to be, or ADOT is approved to do 3 lanes from Tucson now all the way to Phoenix to help improve the traffic congestion, because eventually Tucson and Phoenix are going to be like LA. I mean, it's getting there, if not already there, especially Phoenix.
For people that are from Colorado, I'd equate it with the gap that used to exist between Colorado Springs and Denver. There used to be a lot of back in the late 80s, when my last base was at Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado Springs. There was quite a gap of open land between Colorado Springs and Denver. Now it's not. Now it's just suburbs like Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You know, and where one stops, the next one begins.
So you and your wife are in Sierra Vista, and we're so glad that you found us here.
Thank you.
What brought you to the Warrior Healing Center? How did you find it?
Well, indirectly, I ended up running into a former Marine in Fry's Market who was the commandant of the local detachment of the Marine Corps League. He chatted me up about it, and I'd never heard of the Marine Corps League. There are not that many of them in California and not very well known. So he was a retired police detective from New Jersey. So he and I hit it off right away. And he basically sold me on joining the detachment by saying, this is a great opportunity to start social contacts.
Right.
And make your transition to Sierra Vista a very seamless and stress-free one, because I will know a lot of people that have been here a lot longer than me, and that makes life a lot easier here. And that's exactly what happened. Then ultimately our detachment got an office here in the Warrior Healing Center, and that's how I met Tim and Kathy.
I noticed the emblem on your shirt there does happen to say the Marine Corps League. So
yes, this is our detachment.
It's always backwards in the camera. I do the same thing when I'm trying to...
We call ourselves the Thunder Mountain Detachment after
Thunder Mountain?
The Great Huachuca Mountains here to our west. And that's what it's called.
So if you are a Marine or
Or what's called an FMF corpsman. That's a Fleet
uh
Marine Force corpsman that is attached to Marine infantry units. They're also eligible for, they're the only Navy personnel that are eligible for membership in the Marine Corps League. That's because
uh
the Marine Corps doesn't have its own medical corps like the Army does. The Marine Corps has to
Oh,
rely upon the Department of the Navy, and in particular Navy corpsmen, to treat us.
wow, that's cool.
So they're usually attached to Marine Corps. I call them line companies, as an old antiquated term. Is basically Marine infantry units. These Navy corpsmen are embedded with the Marines and are thought of as Marines by the Marines they serve.
Wow.
Very,
And
very close
if
relationship.
anybody wants information on how to join the Marine Corps League, how would they do that? Is
Yeah,
there
they
a
can
website
contact
or?
me. Well, the first thing, yeah, there's a, you could contact mcl.org. That's marinecorpsleague.org. That's the national
Okay.
branch. We have a state branch here in Arizona, and currently we have approximately 24 different detachments of the Marine Corps League throughout the entire state of Arizona. The biggest one has 200 Marines in it at Lake Havasu. I don't know what it is about
Lake
that lake.
Havasu, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about that lake that attracts Marines, but boy, they got a lot of them up there.
My dad just moved here after living there for like 40 some years.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if you're watching, Dad, but hi.
Hi, Dad.
And he is an elk.
Yeah.
And he said the elks there in Lake Havasu are just like, it's such a big lodge and they've got, oh, it's just crazy. But yeah, it seems like something about Lake Havasu that just attracts
Yep.
people. I
So yeah,
wonder,
you could look us up online too
yeah.
with Thunder Mountain. We're on Facebook too. We've got our own Facebook page. If you're a member of Facebook, or if you're
So,
curious, call me here
so
at
how
the
did
center.
you end up? So you're here because of
Yes.
the Marine Corps League,
Yes.
and you met Tim and Kathy. How did you just get into what you're doing now? I mean, I'm sure it was a process, right?
Yeah. Basically, yeah. Tim and Kathy got to know me, and vice versa, and they saw, or there was a need here for volunteers, so I just kind of melted into that, and then I ended up. Basically, I become kind of a benefits counselor. That's my official title here, and I assist veterans and currently their spouses with VA advice.
And that's what I wanted to get into the second half of the show here. So if you have a dependent and you want some information, we're getting ready to throw some out at you here. So hopefully they'll be watching, or if not watching now, watching a little bit later. And if you have any questions for Dan, just put them in the comments section as you're watching it later, and I'll bring it to his attention to make sure to answer your questions.
Yep.
So fill us in a little bit on how the process works for this, for the benefits.
It's basically what we've done here at the Warrior Healing Centers. We've teamed up with a private company out of Surprise, Arizona. And this particular company is owned by veterans, run by veterans, and they have a very good track record with the local veterans here in Cochise County of getting them upgraded from whatever the veteran's current rating could be, and that could be anywhere from 10, 20, 30, 40, even up to 90%.
Right.
Or the other criteria for this private company is that a veteran has been denied a VA claim by the VA. This company will talk with the veteran, interview them, and determine if they're a good fit for the private company, and then assist the veteran and almost act like the veteran's agent
Okay.
in contact with the VA to complete an upgrade application. And currently, miracles are happening with the VA. I know a lot of people won't believe this, but trust me, I've seen it personally.
Yeah.
As of June of last year, the VA has finally admitted that they are very backlogged in upgrade applications. As such, they've sent an email out to veterans informing them that when the VA has all the paperwork and all the medical records that a veteran submits for an upgrade, the VA will return with a decision on that application in 30 days or less. Some veterans are getting approved for upgrades in 2.5 weeks.
Wow.
I know it's absolutely.
That's fast.
I call it nothing short of miraculous and divine intervention, because there's certainly no mortal logical explanation that I can see for results like that based upon the long checkered history of the VA.
Real quick, just to touch on the denied part.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a veteran and you have not filed a claim that, or you're at 0%, you haven't even filed a claim, is what I'm saying.
Right.
So you have no rating, not 0%. You have no rating. You apply for VA, you get denied. Does VetLinks help with that person? Or are you saying denied for those people that already have a percentage?
No, it's the people that have applied and been denied. Now they're eligible for a VetLink service.
So no matter what their rating is?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Now, the only people VetLink cannot help are ones that have never, ever, ever applied for the VA. When I get veterans that fall into that category, I refer them to our local Disabled American Veterans chapter and to work with a VSO there to start the ball rolling.
And just to touch on that a little bit, veterans just don't want to come in and fill that paperwork out for whatever reason. And thankfully, I've had so many come in and say, well, if it wasn't for my spouse, I wouldn't be here today filling this out. So I urge you, and I don't know, Dan, I can't speak for Dan, but he's right here, but you need to get in and apply. If you've got a disability and you're in the military, don't just sit on your butt. Get up.
Exactly. And you won't be, don't think you're going to be dealing with the VA directly. You will not. If you're coming and working with VetLink Solutions, they will, like I said, they'll be your agent, your lawyer, whatever title you want to put on it. They will do all the heavy lifting for the veteran. They will have all the contact with the VA. The veteran will have zero contact with the VA. That means no phone calls from the VA, no emails, none of that. The only thing the veteran will receive would be correspondence that they're normally getting from the VA anyway.
Right.
But the VetLink, the company, will make the medical appointment and create the application and do all the administrative functions that are necessary to complete an application and an upgrade.
Most of us that have served never wanted to go to sick call because we didn't want to be labeled, the sick call sickies.
Yep.
And don't worry about, oh, well, I don't have a way to relate it because I don't have it in my medical file, because that's what's great about the DD Form 214.
Right.
Especially for our Vietnam veterans who are having issues like with Agent Orange, because on the DD 214, they can make that link by saying served in Vietnam. So, I mean, there are ways to connect.
Correct. There's also, the VA has also allowed veterans that, for example, that served overseas, were wounded in combat, but weren't treated by the U.S. military. A good case in point is a local retired Marine colonel I know. He was attached to the Vietnamese Marines on, I believe, 2 of his 3 tours in Vietnam. He was wounded, but he was immediately evacuated to a South Vietnamese battalion field hospital. They called it ARVN back then, for Army of the Republic of Vietnam. So he was treated by a South Vietnamese Army doctor who was trained in France. And this doctor did all the treatment on him, operated on him, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But of course, there's no U.S. military record of this treatment because it was all in the South Vietnamese military's records, which of course we know what happened to those. So what he ended up doing was he was still in touch with one of his old South Vietnamese Marine buddies, and he got an old Marine buddy of his, Vietnamese Marine buddy, to write an affidavit for the VA saying, yes, on such and such a date, I witnessed Marine get wounded and be subsequently evacuated to an ARVN aid station. So that was enough to pacify the bureaucrats at the VA and assist in the successful completion of his upgrade to 100%.
Wow.
So yeah, there's ways around that.
It's just, there's so many different ways that you can make those connections. And what's some of the veterans that you've worked with that have come in here with the Warrior Healing Center, because I know you've had so many coming in.
Yeah.
You've had I can't think of what they're called when you not conferences, but when they come in and the conference room.
Oh yeah, we've had like seminars.
Seminars.
Yeah,
Thank you. Oh, geez.
that's okay.
So yeah, they do come in every now and then. They do seminars here, but if they're a veteran and they are interested in vet links and the website or call you, they can come into the Warrior Healing Center also and do an intake, right?
Correct. They can also contact me on my email. I'm very responsive to that. My email here is dan@warriorhealingcenter.org. That's all one word.
Okay.
Dan@warriorhealingcenter.org. Or call here at the Warrior Healing Center and leave me a message. The number is right there at the bottom of our screen.
520-221-4093.
Now, lately, what I've learned and discovered is I had a neighbor who was a Vietnam vet, did 2 tours, retired Army Sergeant First Class, very nice guy. But he had a whole host of medical maladies that he acquired during his service in the Army. And he was at 70% disability.
70?
Yep.
Okay.
But he was getting 100% disability stipend from the VA because he couldn't be employed.
Oh, individual unemployability?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
And he and his wife's a German national, and they're very good friends and neighbors of mine. And back at the end of January 2022, I was over at their house helping them with some computer problems, and I hear the wife screaming at her husband from the bedroom. And I immediately run to the bedroom, and he's lying on the bed, and his head is cocked back. And I immediately recognized the gray pallor in his complexion, and his mouth was open, and I know he was dying because I've seen it a million times before as a police officer. So fortunately, the wife is a retired nurse. So I yelled at her. I go, slap him across the face and get him to breathe again, because she's screaming at him to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
She did. He took a couple of breaths and then stopped breathing again. So then I told her, start mouth to mouth, and I started calling the 911 to get the fire department there. And she's doing CPR and mouth to mouth. But after a while, he never revived. And the fire department came along with the sheriffs. And then it basically turned into a death investigation. What subsequently occurred was that the now widow went and told me or showed me a book that her husband had created for his wife. And as I kind of wouldn't call the book a death book, or in case of my death book. Mm-hmm. It was basically a binder where this very, very smart veteran had created a checklist as the first page. And after that, he had his original DD-214 in page covers. He had all of his VA paperwork in there. He had all of his life insurance papers in there, all of his military pay correspondence in there. And then the checklist was basically for his wife to use so that she could start the administrative process of closing out accounts and starting to apply for benefits that she was now eligible for. Now, what was kind of comical is that number 4 on the checklist was, if all of this is too overwhelming, which it was, call Dan and have him help you out. And that's what I did. And my wife and I helped her go to, or assisted her. We went to the local mortuary,
right, and
were there for 3 or 4 hours helping her with the funeral arrangements. And I discovered some very interesting facts about death here in Cochise County. Number 1, the local mortuary got a death certificate created in 1 day, which is nothing short of miraculous anywhere. Mm-hmm. Being from California, you can never get a death certificate in California in less than 10 days. It just doesn't happen. Out here, I was shocked to discover the widow got one in 1 day.
Wow.
Number 2, there is no coroner here in Cochise County, Arizona. No. That I was shocked to discover.
They have to send him up to Tucson.
Correct. Fortunately, this my veteran pal's death was natural. He was under the current care of a doctor. So the doctor signed off on the death certificate. I was kind of surprised that the Cochise County Sheriff's Department didn't do a death report like officers do in California, but I guess they didn't see a need for that, so
well, and
they
a
moved
thing
on.
that's so important with the death certificate is you can't go to the bank. Well, the wife might be,
Correct.
or the spouse, I'm sorry,
Yep.
might be able to, but like to close accounts, like you had
Right.
referenced, and stuff, because every place that you go to, the first thing they ask you for is the death certificate.
Right. And what um, once we got the death certificates and all that, now I helped her um, initiate the life insurance claims so she could get that started and get that money coming. The other thing we did too is filled out a form with the VA for burial reimbursement. Now the criteria on that is if a veteran dies at home, like my pal did, the widow is only going to get $300 and some change.
Isn't
However,
that weird?
yeah,
If they die in the hospital, they get more money than,
correct. If they
oh my
died at the
gosh,
if they died at a VA hospital, they get like
like $700.
$700.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if you die or when you die in a VA
yeah.
hospital.
Get to a VA hospital while you're still in death throes or whatever. But yeah, and then what else do we help? The good thing is a local mortuary started notifying the Social Security Administration right off the bat. I was very
Yes.
impressed with
Yes.
that. So once that was done, then we had to contact the Army DFAS and get his military pay stopped and a whole host of other administrative functions that, when English isn't your first language, can be very
Yeah.
um, very
Hard to,
difficult, and and can be can seem like an insurmountable obstacle.
well, and another thing that they can be eligible for is, I don't know what DIC stands for. It's like
Right.
dependent indemnity claim or something
That's
like
it.
that.
Right.
But sometimes spouses, their only income is the veteran. So
Correct.
when he passes and that income is at jeopardy, so if the spouse is eligible for this, they need to get in and get that filed as quick as they can. And that the two things that any service officer was going to ask you for will be for the DD Form 214 and the death certificate.
Correct. And that's um, we were able to work with the DAV on that on behalf of my friend, the widow, and surprisingly, she got her checks sent to her in 3 weeks. Her DIC application was approved in 3 weeks. Once again, another miraculous bureaucratic accomplishment that I'm still amazed at. I just can't believe that it happened that quick.
And the VA already has the
correct,
financial information
right,
to keep the check flowing.
Yep.
So
Yep. And they had his DD 214 and all that, and she was listed already in the VA records as his spouse. So one of the reasons why it was approved so fast is because, number one, she met the criteria of eligibility for that DIC program, and that is that the veteran has either 100% or, in his case, 70 plus 100% IU for a minimum of 10 years. That's the magic number. He had over 10. He had that designation for over 10 years, and that's what ensured her eligibility and her participation, because they were making, or he was getting, about $3,600 a month tax free.
Wow. Yes.
From the VA, and now the wife is getting approximately $1,400 and some change under the DIC program.
And I've assisted widows that didn't think that they were going to get it.
Yep.
Don't be like that.
Yeah.
Get in there, get it. It doesn't hurt to apply. It doesn't cost anything but your
Correct.
time.
And if you're in doubt, come on down and talk to us here at the Warrior Healing Center. We'll help you out. I believe absolutely that one of the reasons why I had this hands-on experience was so that I could pass on this information to other surviving spouses who don't know where to turn. They're already going through a grief-stricken loss of a loved one in their life. So it's very difficult for them to think clearly anyway. And my pledge to veterans out there is go out and do what I do. I'm no genius on this, and I'm not even a trained VSO, a veteran service officer.
Right.
I'm doing all this through my own self-education and my own experience and being able to look it up on the internet. I have no formal training in this, and neither can any other veteran or that can step up and help with new widows in their neighborhood, in their community. Where I live at in Hereford, there's probably 8 widows that live around my area.
Wow.
Around my house. Yeah, there's that many. And there's going to be more of them.
And they're going to need help.
They need help.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here to do.
Yeah.
Like I said, I challenge all my veterans out there, my male veterans and female veterans too. I'm not making this gender specific. Go out there and help these people. Go help. It's
help
a
with
horrible
yard
time.
work or
Yes.
getting something fixed. I mean, they need so much help.
That's what we're here to do. We're here to help. One another get through this thing called life, and it's not that difficult to do. And every little bit makes an incredible difference in the life of somebody else.
My wife, she gets after me. She says I put too much out on social media, but I like to do a lot of Facebook. And I've noticed in some of the Facebook groups that somebody will claim that they're a veteran. So if you read these things or you see these things too, I'd like to encourage you to send those people down here to the Warrior Healing Center instead of just, assisting them. Let's get them into the system. Let's see if we can't assist them and help them. All you got to do is you come in and you fill out an intake form, and
Correct.
They're going to want your information. And tell us a little bit about that.
That intake form is basically almost like triage. If people remember watching the old TV show MASH, and the helicopters came in with the wounded and all that, and Hawkeye and his pals were over there looking at the wounded soldiers that came in and assessing their wounds and who was needed immediate treatment. Well, we work the same kind of system here with what's called an intake form. An intake form is a form that we've created here. The information is stored in our internal database. We do not share information with the government. We don't share it with Google. We don't share it with Facebook or anybody else or any
Nobody
other
can buy
agencies.
it.
Correct. We don't auction it off to the highest bidder or any of that nonsense. However, we're currently serving probably close to 1,500 veterans right now.
Wow.
So the best way to keep us up to date on what we're doing for veterans is through our own in-house database that we can update and keep track of those veterans and what services that we've provided for them or referrals that we've made to them, that kind of thing. That's why it's absolutely necessary. If you are curious about anything as far as any services for a veteran, please come and see us. We can keep our mouth shut. I had a top secret clearance, so I can keep my mouth shut. It may not look like it right now, but if you tell me something in confidence, I'm not going to share it with anybody.
Well, one thing that pisses me off is when somebody says that they're a veteran when they're not.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think that that's another thing about, especially on social media.
Right.
When you come across somebody claiming they're a veteran, again, I encourage you, instead of giving them money or products, food, whatever, yeah, I know it's great to help. And please do, if that's what you want to do. But ask that person to come down to the Warrior Healing Center and get into the system, and let's get that person the help that they're requesting.
And on that same subject right now, we are a private organization. We're a nonprofit here at the Warrior Healing Center. That means we don't get state money. We don't get federal money. We certainly don't get any municipal local money.
Donations.
We survive only on private donations. That is why, especially in these times right now, where there's a lot of people under economic and financial distress, we need private donations, cash donations now more than ever before. We are currently, to date, we have housed 40 homeless veterans.
Right.
There's also the purpose of this organization in this building right here is to prevent veteran suicides.
22 a day.
Correct. And
I donate to that here at the center
yep,
because I think it's such a worthy cause.
it is. And it allows us to continue serving
Hmm.
veterans. That's what we do here as volunteers. That's our passion. And I would once again challenge anybody out there listening to this, if this resonates with you and you feel a calling to this, please go to the website 22 to n22.com and make a financial donation to us so that we can continue preventing veteran suicides.
Yes.
We can continue assisting the spouses of deceased veterans, and we can continue serving the 20,000 veterans that are living in Cochise County, Arizona. We can only do that with financial donations. That's
And
what keeps us going.
and if you're not tech savvy, you can just come right into the center and you can drop off a donation right at the front desk there.
Correct. We take food because we're having a heck of a lot of hungry veterans right now with
Yep.
the high cost of groceries in the markets right now. We will take food. We don't. We cannot take or really have no space to store furniture or anything like that. If you do have that stuff, we suggest you take it to Salvation Army. No, excuse me. To St. Vincent de Paul, Goodwill.
Cochise Serving Veterans
Right.
has a
And
closet, I think.
there's one out in Wachuca City too called Zehr's. That's
Yes,
will
Rick,
take furniture.
Rick and Gerudo,
Yep.
yeah.
Rick Hackney runs that one. A wonderful guy.
Yeah, very good. Before we close here, one last thing I want to touch on a little bit was we were talking about Joe Larson, and
Yes.
maybe you could tell us a little bit about him real quick and what his job does. And I would love to get him in here and interview him
Yes.
because I think he would have some very fascinating things to talk to us about.
Joe Larson is the director of the local veterans cemetery called Southern Arizona Veterans Memorial Cemetery. It's a state-owned cemetery. Joe Larson is a full-time state employee. He came over and was a guest speaker at the Thunder Mountain Detachment Marine Corps League meeting that we had and gave us some very interesting information. First off, he says that he recommends that any veteran that has a DD-214 go to the website for his cemetery and upload that, scan it and upload it. And what he'll do is he'll take that DD-214 and upload it into a nationwide website called the NCA, which is the National Cemetery Association. What this is I believe it's run by the VA, but don't quote me on it. It's definitely federal. What this is it's a place where your status as a veteran has now been verified and confirmed, and it allows the next of kin of any deceased veteran to bury a veteran in any veteran cemetery, or if the veteran is cremated, the ashes can be stored in a columbaria at any veteran's cemetery nationwide, not just here in Arizona. So say, for instance, because I've already got a reservation at my local veterans cemetery, but say I decide I want to go visit some friends back east somewhere. Say I've got family in Iowa, and my wife and I go out to Iowa, and I die out in Iowa. If my wife at the time decides that, hey, Iowa's a great place to bury Dan, it's so pretty out here. There's lots of cows and stuff like that he can talk to, whatever. If that's my wife's wishes, because I don't care, I'm dead. What do I care?
Right.
She can find a local veterans cemetery in Iowa, and they will bury me for free out there because my eligibility requirements have been made and confirmed through my DD-214 information in the National Cemetery Association.
That's such a great example that you gave too, because don't think that it can't happen to you, because it happens all the time.
All the time.
And it's such sad stories that you read about when people are traveling and pass away, and then it's so hard for them because if the spouse wants to or the family wants to get the remains or back to it's a very long and very hard process.
Another secondary benefit to uploading your DD-214 to this NCA is that now you've got a VA certified, approved copy of your DD-214 should you lose your original. because I can certainly guarantee you that if you need a valid authorized copy of your DD-214, it's much easier to get it from the NCA now that you've uploaded a copy of it than it is trying to get it through archives.gov. We know,
Which I did.
Tell us.
Last July, I applied for one because I lost my DD-214 in the Monument wildfire. And I just got an email 2 days ago, and all they do is they sent you an email with a link, and then you have to click on the link. So they don't even send it to you with the certification on it. It's an email, and it took them that long just to send an email.
Yeah,
so
exactly. So they're backlogged too, just like
yeah.
VA upgrade applications for disability claims too. So I frequently run into veterans that come into my office going, I don't have a copy of my DD-214. My dog ate it. An ex-wife destroyed it in a fit of rage, whatever the story is.
Right.
And I'm constantly advising veterans, go to your local county recorder's office and upload it there for free. When I separated from the Air Force in 1986, one of the things they told me is go down to your county recorder's office, and get a copy of it made. And I did that with LA County Hall of Records, and it's still there certified to this day if I ever need it.
Also, somebody was telling me that you can go up on My Healthy Vet,
and
they have all your information up there too.
Right. But see, I would challenge that if you need a copy that's certified, it's going to be a much difficult process to get it through My Healthy Vet than it is going to my county recorder's office, showing them my ID and say, I need a certified copy of my DD-214.
Plus, with My Healthy Vet, the way they have you logging in right now, it's crazy because there's like 3 different options, and it's just...
With identity theft, it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. That's my prediction for the future, too, by the way, is that the insecurity of the internet now is going to drive us all right back to snail mail. Because snail mail is more reliable now than anything over the internet.
Well, that's true, too, because when you get things, there's just so many scammers out there that just want to try and take advantage of you.
Of course.
So in closing, do you have anything that you'd like to share with everybody, something that's like maybe really passionate that you're well, I know you're passionate about everything. Let's put that out there now, but please go ahead.
Basically, I would just I just want to reiterate that we have plenty of openings here at the Warrior Healing Center for volunteers. I challenge retired volunteers that are sitting at home and they're sick and tired of watching daytime TV or watching the news every day is getting boring and stressful. I would say turn off the TV, come on down and volunteer a little bit of your time. I'm not asking for 40 hours a week, nor is anybody else here.
Nope.
But if you've got a couple hours a week to spend and you don't play golf, and
what are some of the volunteer positions that are available here?
There's lots of them. We have a service called Rona. And
it's very good service.
Very good service. And it's basically just calling up our veterans once a month to let them know that the Warrior Healing Center is still up and running. And we're checking in. It's basically a check-in service for our local veterans to let them know that we're thinking of them. We want to know how they're doing. We want to know how their physical health is. We want to know how their psychological health is.
If they have any needs.
If they have any needs, that kind of thing. And I've done it before when I first started volunteering here. And I love the reply I got from veterans that would say, you're the only ones that call me. I know once a month you guys are going to call me, and you're the only ones that check in. No other official government agency does that. And outside of church groups locally here and my friends, nobody else calls. So we have that as an option. We've got all kinds of things and tasks here that can help veterans out. Front desk, work in the front desk to receive veterans and direct them to any of the almost 50 tenant organizations we have underneath our roof here. That's a possibility. If you're computer literate, we really could use you to help out those veterans that aren't computer literate with some of the tasks that they need.
And they have a computer lab here too.
Yes, we have a computer lab. Any veteran out there that doesn't have internet service, or their internet service goes down, or they need to print something out, they don't know how to scan anything, come on down. We'll help you out with that.
Yeah.
And
That's
now
great.
you can scan stuff with your smartphone. I don't even
Oh, I know, right?
long gone are those days. And of course, if you want to know how to do this, YouTube will show you. Long gone are the days of those big old long flatbed scanners that you had to hook up to your computer and was another piece of junk that went into a landfill once its lifespan had ended.
Right.
Now I know how to do that with my smartphone, and I learned it from YouTube.
And I don't want to give you too big of a head, but a lot of people know who Dan is. I hear a lot of good, positive comments about you and how helpful you are. And I know this because I've watched it and seen it myself. And you do such a valuable service to our community and to our veterans. And for that, I'd like to say thank you.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure, and I do it because I like to. I want to serve our veterans out there, and more importantly, too, their families.
Well, you must have some really cool friends, huh?
Yes, and
Your
like,
pearly whites.
thank you, Keith. But yeah, it like I said, we're all in this together,
Yeah.
especially as veterans. You know, we all know teamwork more than sports teams do. I'm a big proponent of that. We learned that by working together, and I don't think that needs to end and needs to change just because we ETS and get a DD 214. And I think that our service can continue. And I'm frequently uh, awestruck by the veterans that I've seen locally here that do a lot more than I do and are much more passionate about this than I am. And they're basically my mentors in performing the same task. And that's what we all enjoy. Let's help each other out.
But the thing that I like about you is that you lead by example, or what my mom used to always put in my head when I was a kid was that actions speak louder than words.
Correct. And it's my greatest challenge is to not be impatient enough to rush to no, I wouldn't say anger, that's too strong a word, but frustration when I see people talking a good game about community service
Hmm.
versus those that are actually actively doing something in community service. The ones that are in the latter category, I notice right off the bat, and I'm very much proud to know them. My criticism of several of the local veteran organizations is that they talk a good game, and I'd like to see a lot more action from them,
Hmm.
by them, to the veterans here. And they can. And right now, like I said, times are tough right now in our
Yep.
county and our community, and the best way to get through this is working together.
I don't have a list of events today because I forgot to ask Kathy for it, but there is one thing that's really important today, and it's also something that as a volunteer you can do it from home, and that is the cooks. They have this. I don't know if it's official title, but I've heard it called the Cooks Club.
Yep.
But if you want to cook something from home and bring it in to help uh, the veterans today, they're providing free spaghetti. So if you want some
Spaghetti lunch.
spaghetti, 11 to 2 o'clock, come
That's
on in
right.
for that because that's what they're serving today. They have a bagels and brew right now. They're doing that on the third Friday of every
Thursday.
month, or Thursday, third Thursday
Third
of every
Thursday.
month.
Yep.
And they again put out an elaborate spread of food, brew. Um, I
Not
know,
beer, but coffee.
yeah.
Coffee brew.
Somebody else said that. Oh, where's the beer? Yeah,
I know. There's always a thirsty veteran out there
yeah,
somewhere that wants a brew.
yeah. And I again, we've had veterans that come in and say, I need help with this, and there is a food pantry. I don't know what all is in there, but I have had veterans come in and ask for some food and have gotten food bags, and then they put items in the lobby at the front desk
Yes.
there for veterans that they can take. So,
One of the most successful ice breaking statements that I've used here that gets 100% success is that I tell veterans, this is your house. The Warrior Healing Center is your house. You
wow.
have earned a membership here. You've earned um, a participation here. You have earned the services that we provide here, and you've earned admission to this place. This door is open for you because you've earned it through your military service. I don't care what branch it is. I don't care if you were only in the National Guard and the VA doesn't legally or officially define you as a veteran. I could care less about bureaucratic titles and policies and procedures like that. Having worked in 4 bureaucracies, I've seen my fair share of that nonsense. But the bottom line is this is your house. Come and visit us. Come see what we have here. Come enjoy us. We've got TV sets. If you're a younger generation and love that video game stuff, we got an Xbox. Come on down and just come and see us. Visit us and chat with people that you can talk to comfortably and without judgment.
And I second that.
Yep.
Very well said.
Thank you.
And I love the camaraderie here. Because when you come in, and especially like at the Bagels and Brew or one of the meals or anything, and there's just veterans sitting around and talking, they don't care if you served 1 year or 100 years. You know, it's
the bonding is instant, and the bonding is quick. It's quick, and it's requires no active participation on anybody's part. It just kind of seems to happen.
Yep. So again, we're located down here at
1838
1838, thank you.
Paseo San Luis, and for God's sakes, don't try to, I'm going to say it right now, Keith Silva will butcher it any Spanish because he thinks it's Italian. I had to walk him through Esperanza the other day. Oh my gosh, it was painful. Thank you, Keith. Love you. He's sending me chats.
You got a lot of friends, huh?
I know, they're good pals out there.
Yeah, good deal. All right, Dan, thank you so much for joining us
Thanks
today.
for having me.
Come back and join us again. Now, next Friday, I won't be here because I'll be over at the DAV chapter service officer. We're having a training all day because I also do that. So that's an all-day thing. But I talked to Kathy, and I'm going to do a special show on Saturday, May 14th.
Good.
So join me Saturday morning, May 14th. I'll be here. Until then, everybody have a great weekend.
Be safe.
Bye.
Bye-bye.